Hello everybody, Chris Johnson here, back with not so much of a magic trick, but more like a way to make something artistic and cool with some newspaper. So I've got some newspaper here taped up, and watch, I'm going to show you how this looks. I'm going to roll up my newspaper like this. Make sure it's nice and even. And then, up top here, I'm going to tear it right down the middle. I'm going to do the same thing the other direction, like this. There. And then this part that gets all flippy and floppy, I'm going to reach inside and pull. And we get a nice newspaper tree. Now, let me show you how this works. Like I said, this is not so much of a magic trick, but it's more like you need at least 2 sheets of newspaper. Now, this is a regular piece of newspaper that opens up like this. So you want to make this thinner, so what you do is you open it up like this. You've got a crease right down the center. You give the crease a little bit of a starting tear like this, and then you just pull very gently, and it'll come right out. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to tape this end of this newspaper to this end of the newspaper, overlap like this. One part of the newspaper with the other, and using some tape, I just taped it right down like this. So now let me back up. I've got 2 pieces of newspaper taped together like this. Now really, if you want to do a really nice tree, I've seen a lot of magicians, and I've done it too, where I have like 3 or 4 pieces of paper. So this is like 2 or 3 times long, and you can make a really tall tree. I only did 2 pieces of newspaper because when you're doing a Zoom show, it's really hard to show something that big. So I just did 2. So now you've got this all taped up, really simple. Again, you're just having the 2 ends overlapped and taped together, super simple. Then, starting at the top, you're going to roll this into a tube, sort of like a paper towel tube like this. You're just rolling it into a tube with your fingers, making the tube fairly tight like this. Oh, you see what I did there? I did it with the tape on the inside. I want to do this with the tape on the outside, so I'm actually going to start over again. I want the tape to be in the outside so that I don't have this flap of newspaper. You can also have another piece of tape overlapping it here and here on both sides. But just to make this video a little bit quicker, I'm just going to roll this on the inside. So I'm going to take this and roll it again. So now that flap that was not taped is going to go on the inside of the newspaper. That's just going to help keep things more secure when we do our tearing and pulling later on. I'm going to go all the way down the middle of that newspaper, all the way down, rolling it. So now I've got my roll of newspaper all together. And you can tighten it up a little bit, make that roll a little bit tighter. And then starting from the top, if your fingers are strong enough, you're just going to tear this right in half. Or you can use, if you want to use a pair of scissors with your parents' permission, you can do that too. You're just going to tear this right in half. So I got this whole thing. So I got a tube here, squeeze it shut. I'm just going to tear that whole thing right in half like this. I'm going to go down not quite half the length of the newspaper. So you can see there, I'm just a little bit less than half. Then I'm going to tear, I got our 2 flaps now, so I'm going to tear this the same way and tear this the same way. Let me show you. Look at this. So I've got these 2 sections of newspaper where I've torn. Flatten those 2 pieces together. And I'm going to tear in half again the same way. Just tear. This is creating the branches of our tree right down the middle of the newspaper. And then you can start, now you got the piece of paper all flippy and floppy, which is really good. You just kind of arrange them like that so they're all on the outside. And then you go in on one of the inner layers. You grab a couple of pieces of newspaper, a couple of those leaves, and you hold on this part really tight, fairly tight, and you begin pulling upward. And that's when you pull up as high as it'll go, and that's when you get your newspaper tree. And that's really pretty.